Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. We're going to just stay a little bit more quiet and wait till some more attendees join us before we get started. So if you'd just be patient with us for a little bit more quiet time, we appreciate it. Thank you. We hope that you'll be able to post some questions for our experts today. You can either use the Zoom chat or our YouTube channel if you're looking at it on our community page. This is all being recorded live on YouTube today and will be embedded for the on-demand version. We'll put all the links that are needed or that you may be wanting into our chats today, just so that they'll be easy for you to get to. We have just a few more seconds before we start our live broadcast today. Again, we welcome that if you want to have additional questions after we end today's session, to please post them on the community. All right, everyone, let's go ahead and get started today. Welcome to another Ask the Expert event on the ServiceNow community. Today, we have our experts that will be covering what's new in the Omnichannel and the New York edition for our customer service management product. All right, take it away. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us. As Lisa mentioned, we're from the Customer Service Management business unit here at ServiceNow. My name is Jeff Hoffman. I am an outbound product manager with our agent experience and omnichannel pillar or area of capabilities. I'm going to be joined today by Theo Gannon and Parag Shah, two of my inbound product management directors within our omnichannel experience portfolio. So before we get started, just three key points that we're going to want to cover off today and make sure that you have a firm understanding or grip on in terms of how ServiceNow views omnichannel and what we're building towards. So first off, just to sort of review where we're at within omnichannel, within basically in the industry, the agent experience, and ServiceNow's point of view when it comes to omnichannel. Second, I'm going to hand off to Prithvi, and Prithvi's going to review some of our enhancements around advanced work assignment and chat capabilities in terms of what we've built and released in New York. And then Parag's going to bring it home with some email enhancements and what we're building towards and some of our new capabilities on the email front as well. If you've been familiar, oh, am I not on, Lisa? Can you hear me?
Your audio?
Lisa? Okay, let me.
I cannot hear you.
I can hear you, Jeff.
Parag, or anyone?
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah, I can also hear you, Jeff.
Sounds good. I'm just going to keep going. In terms of customer service management and ServiceNow's approach to omnichannel and customer engagement, it does fit into our overall perspective in terms of how we can best service end customers on the ServiceNow platform. This particular diagram brings together all those different areas of focus in terms of being able to provide channel of choice and be able to provide progressive channels as new things arise in the marketplace, and being able to leverage those within a single agent experience for case management, issue resolution, keeping the customer at the heart of the conversation. Now, the piece that ServiceNow really differentiates is this middle office and operations point of view, where we talk about things like process orchestration and work order management and problem management. How do we take everything that we capture at the engagement layer and make sure that we route it to the right person, the right team, or we use predictive intelligence to group things together and provide major case management, to get to the heart of a resolution on behalf of these issues for the customer. Now, this engagement area is an area of focus for us, right? So what you're going to see that we've focused in on New York, and in future releases that you'll see, we'll continue to enhance this portfolio, these capabilities to provide true omnichannel customer service. Now, why omnichannel matters to you, to your business, to your stakeholders? There's some key observations that we see across the industry, and these have really been true for a long time now. First and foremost, most customers are already omnichannel. You think about any of us in our at-home and daily lives. We're not just using an email support address or calling into a 1-800 number. We have more options at our fingertips than ever before. And as technology has evolved, consumers and customers, whether in their work life or their at-home life, are taking those on and using them to provide either self-service means or new evolved means to be able to work with and collaborate with customer support teams. Now, but we're still seeing interactions and conversations that are disjointed and broken. There are still more multi-channel or siloed channeled applications and solutions out there. We still see a lot of customer service teams that organize around a channel and don't do a good job of sharing information between those teams to get a single view of their customer, a single view of the support history for those customers. And thirdly, the customer experience is going to depend on context. If I have contacted you via the phone channel and spent a half an hour going through troubleshooting steps, and then I chat with a different agent and they don't have a view of that, or I use Facebook Messenger and message in, and I get a third agent that doesn't have that context, that view, the customer effort is huge, right? That's a big boulder to get over to resolve before you can get to the heart of the matter and actually fix a customer's issue. So it's very paramount that we're working across all channels and we have a single view of that conversation, single view of that history of that customer to be able to get to issue resolution. On top of this, the agent's role is changing, right? So this is yet another piece that we're seeing in the industry with our customers and in other areas with other solution providers, where easy transactions are being handled by automated self-service. So there's been the proliferation of bots and intelligent responses and enhancements to things like knowledge management communities where customers can actually get the simple questions self-served. There's more self-service options in portals and more mobile apps than ever before. So your agents are now in that exception handling business. They're taking the more complex issues and having to spend more time getting through resolution. So now we're dealing with a multitude of channels and also a higher complexity of issues. Products are becoming even more complex. Everything from the simplest sort of legacy product or solution may have an app or some technology aspect to it. It's the digitization of consumer apps and workplace applications. So they're becoming more complex and more difficult to troubleshoot and support. And then these modern channels that we talked about, they all require extreme multitasking, right? So not only am I in my customer service application, but I'm maybe alt-tabbing or swivel chairing into an ERP or a billing system or other homegrown applications. It makes it difficult to get that composite single view of the customer. But what we've heard more often than not from analysts, from businesses, from CEOs, to customers is that customer service really still is that only differentiator in the face of global commoditization. As everybody has a competitor application or a competitor product, you differentiate on service, right? So the tools that we can give agents and how streamlined and integrated we can make the omnichannel experience, the better that customer service experience is going to be. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to quickly go through some of the highlights that we've brought to the market here in New York for customer service management, and specifically around the agent experience and omnichannel. So in New York, we've brought agent workspace configurability, right? So that means we've introduced a concept of a landing page. If you're, and you'll get to see this here shortly in the demonstration, but landing page provides that single place I can go to as an agent and see my work, my team's work, a dashboard-like experience to start my day. The other piece here that we brought for Agent Workspace in New York is supporting multiple form views, right? So keeping in mind how key context is, showing the right information, requiring the right set of fields based upon a type or category of case or other sort of task is going to be really critical. So now we can support that so we have a more contextual frontline experience for the agents. And then we're now also supporting rich text comments. So in high-tech industries where you need to be able to embed screenshots or highlight code blocks and not just send text back and forth, this is a key capability of being able to empower the agent to be more effective in their notes back to the customers. Second here, virtual agent. We've made a couple really critical enhancements. One is we're now pushing virtual agent into Facebook Messenger conversations. So from a consumer app standpoint, we're building out a conversational interface framework that allows our virtual agent and our agent chat applications to communicate through Facebook Messenger. We've also taken some of our acquisitions that we've made in the area of natural language understanding, replatformed those capabilities, and now introducing that to support our virtual agent conversations as well. So no longer will the virtual agent or bot be a single-threaded or choiceless selection of topics. It can actually understand those utterances and phrases and drive the end customer to the right resolution or right topic to help them resolve. Thirdly, here in the areas of advanced work assignment, which we've enhanced since we first brought this in Madrid, we now have a skill determination capability. So without having to require coding or scripting, you can build business logic that applies skills and skill requirements to incoming work items, whether those be a chat or a case or some other type of task. We're also going to support the ability to configure additional types of work items. So if you need to segregate out work from a table-like case and create different service channels for those, you'll be able to see that. Prithvi's going to cover that a little bit later on. And then thirdly here, in the omnichannel arena, we are introducing advanced email flows, making the email administrative experience more user-friendly to the business users and analysts that may need to make changes to how email is handled within an organization. And then supporting email templates and signatures, so I can compose an email quickly, a response quickly using canned and approved text responses, and then send that back out to the customer. And then lastly, chat snippets. So being able to configure chat actions that provide a quick means to be able to respond to customers in an effective manner. But all these capabilities that I've just covered here really work best in the framework of Agent Workspace. So before going omnichannel, one of the things that we'll ask you to consider is Agent Workspace and its fit within your organization. So I want to quickly cover off some of the enhancements and things that we've brought within New York, and hopefully these provide a sense of curiosity for you and your business to maybe go apply Agent Workspace within your teams. So within Agent Workspace, we're going to help allow you to automate processes and eliminate swivel chair. So being able to have support for multiple tabs, be able to drill in and be able to multitask across different record types within that multi-tab experience is going to be critical. Being able to add knowledge base, knowledge responses back to a customer to help drive them to self-service, drive them back to that portal, back to that knowledge base is going to be critical as well. This becomes the overall canvas for how we're going to operate in an omnichannel world. Advanced work assignment takes these concepts within Agent Workspace to the next level. So now I've got this concept of an inbox and presence and skills that's going to allow work to get routed to the right individual, the right group, and make sure that that work is assigned promptly, right? So wait times go down, customer satisfaction goes up. We're making sure the right person is working on that work item, so the transfer rate goes down, all geared towards optimizing the omnichannel customer experience. Thirdly here, being omnichannel, being able to multitask using interaction management. So interaction management is a brand new concept within ServiceNow that's going to allow you to handle things like phone calls and chats and cases and be able to keep track of the conversation that's happening across channels, being able to capture information about the call or about the chat record in the construct of that interaction without having to create a case for every single customer conversation that you have. This is going to be critical. We've seen a huge uptake in interaction management for customers that love this idea of being able to track things as a conversation and also not having to create a case or a ticket for everything. If it's a simple one and done issue, there's no need to create a case. This, case can become sort of an exception handling scenario. Next, we have lookup and verify. So when we think about how we integrate CTI and voice systems into the agent workspace, we need a clean, crisp, simple way for agents to verify that incoming caller. If we don't have that phone number on record already, we need to be able to look up against an email address or an account number or another set piece of data. And now we can do that. We can also track that we did in fact verify who that customer, that contact is before we move on within the interaction or creating a case. So not only does it provide a simple means of consumer or contact lookup, it also provides a mean of actually flagging and capturing that verification step that we did complete that. And then next year we have case action status and notification. So one of the beautiful things within ServiceNow is that we can handle these complex root cause or dependency type interactions where a case may be related to a problem or it could be related to a change request that we need to roll back. All the while, those tasks may be worked on by different teams or different agents. So case action status tracking and notifications brings that back to the front line for the agent. So in real time, I know that if the problem record related to my case has been closed out, I can receive a real-time push notification. If there are tasks blocking me from responding back to the customer or proposing a solution, that action status gives me that as well. So these are all some of the great capabilities that we're bringing to Workspace here in New York. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk a little bit further about that virtual agent capability or enhancement where we're bringing Facebook Messenger integration to the table. So I'm going to give you a quick demonstration of that before we hand off to chat. But let me do a quick check here on questions and the chat. Looks like we're okay for now. All right. So
here on Zoom, do we have available examples on CTI integrations from Antulika?
We do. We have several store-based integrations of CTI partners. So our CTI capabilities are built on what we call OpenFrame. And OpenFrame is the set of APIs that allows adapters, the software adapter, to live within ServiceNow and then communicate with the likes of a Cisco, Avaya, Genesys, Amazon Connect, etc. So you can go out to the store and view some of those partners, and they have demonstrations and videos. Natively, ServiceNow provides a notify capability that provides voice integration with Twilio through a plugin capability. But we have several options when it comes to CTI. All right, so what I'm going to show you next here is the Facebook integration that we've done for virtual agents. So essentially what you'll want to do is register a developer account to be able to create an app. You'll notice here I have this Acme New York demo app that I've created. I'm not going to go directly into all of the setup and configuration of that. There's some great documentation out on Docs that can walk you through all the required steps to be able to test this out. But what I will show you here is we will let me come back to my consumer app. I've got a demo page here where I've created a fictitious company called Acme, and I'm logged in as Julie Lewis, and Julie is my demo persona. She's a customer of Acme. And when she comes to send message here, she's going to type hi. And the virtual agent actually hosted back in ServiceNow is able to come across directly within Facebook Messenger. So I've got my topic explorer here, so I can see things like get help, live agent support, provide feedback on the topics. I'm just going to quickly toggle over here, make sure that my agent is available for chat before I start my demo. Looks like John is logged in, so presence being one of those key capabilities for advanced work assignment, I'm going to make sure that he's logged in. And if I click get help within here, the virtual agent is going to help drive me to self-service. So it's going to ask me to briefly describe my issue or question. I could say slow reporting. If you query the knowledge base, it'll bring back a preview of knowledge articles that match my content. It'll provide links for me to be able to go out to any of those. It'll ask interactively here if any of those helped. If I select no, then I've got the option. I could search the knowledge base again, contact an agent, in which case I'm now taking that virtual agent conversation and escalating to John Jason, my customer service agent. So when he accepts this, he now gets the full context and history of everything that came across from that virtual agent conversation. And we are now in the chat application, right? So now he can respond back to the customer. He could send a knowledge-based article or converse with them and suggest additional steps to go through. But all of this is not using our chat on our service portal, not using our virtual agent on our service portal, but actually integrating it through that third-party application and showing everything within virtual agent. So with that said, this is a perfect time for me to hand off to Prithvi, who's going to talk about some of our additional capabilities and enhancements that we've made to advanced work assignment and chat. So Prithvi, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and hand it over to you.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Theo Gannon, and I'm a part of the product management team here at ServiceNow. I'm responsible for the omnichannel aspects of our customer workflow products. Today, I'm going to talk about three things. I'll start with skill determination engine, which is a very important part of our skill-based routing capabilities. Then I'll talk about some improvements in advanced work assignment, primarily the ability to define your own custom service channels. And then finally, I'll talk about some key improvements that we made with chat, some key innovations we've brought in there before I hand it over to Virat. So let's start with skill determination. Skill determination, like I mentioned, is a very important part of our skill-based routing set of capabilities. And we are noticing some interesting trends in the industry now. One, like Jeff mentioned earlier, the agent's role is changing. Agents are more in a zone where they're handling exceptions, they're handling complex cases. And second, we're also noticing that there's a trend towards looking at support as a shared service. Now, previously what used to happen is every business area or every product area would have its own small support center. And in that scenario, what used to happen is the agents within those smaller support centers were all skilled to serve the needs of that business area or that product area. Now, in such a scenario, obviously, you don't need skill-based routing because everybody has the right skills to support that area of business. Now, with consolidation of support, there is this move towards creating a bigger support organization that serves the need of the entire organization. And with that, not every agent is going to have the same set of skills. You could have an agent A who is skilled on product one, you could have an agent B who is skilled on product two, and so forth. So in such a scenario, for efficient routing of work, skill-based routing becomes super critical. So before we dive into the details of skill-based routing, let's look at different components of skill-based routing. It all starts with work item. Work item could be a task at an interaction. Example of tasks are cases, incidents, problems, etc. Interactions could be chats, walk-ups, phone calls, etc. So whenever a work item is created or updated, there needs to be something that looks at this work item and determines the required skills for completing this piece of work. Now, once this something identifies the required skills to complete this piece of work and adds those skills to the work item, we have strong skill-based routing capabilities in advanced work assignment, assignment workbench, or dynamic scheduling. All of these routing engines can take this information, use that information to route the work to the right agent. Advanced work assignment has very strong and declarative skill-based routing capabilities. And for those of you who are new to advanced work assignment, I would highly recommend looking at our previous webinar on advanced work assignment to learn more on this area. So advanced work assignment does a great job if the skill requirements are already identified. But how do you even identify the skills required to complete this work? And what we saw with our customers were, one of these things. One, they were not using skill-based routing. Instead, they were creating a different queue for every combination of skills. And what ends up happening there is you are creating a proliferation of queues. You have too many queues to manage. Or two, they were building custom solutions using business rules to identify skills. Or three, they had a manager whose job was to look at every single case, look at the attributes on the case, based on the attributes on the case, look up the skills required and add those skills required manually to the case. Now, this is obviously a very cumbersome process, and this is not a job that I would envy. With automation around identifying skills using skill determination engine, we firmly believe that we can make the life of this manager easier. We can help him or her reclaim his or her life. So that is going to be the focus here. Now, first, let's talk about skill. Skills are first-class citizens within ServiceNow, and they are represented by records in the skill table. Now, there are two parties who require skills. There's an agent who is represented by a sys user, and these agents have skills. And there are work items. These work items could be tasks or interactions, and they have skill requirements. So skill requirements on task are represented by records in the task skill table, and skill requirements on interaction are represented by records in the interaction skill table. Now, if you look at the table itself, there's a reference to the task on task skill table, and there's a reference to the skill. And there's also a flag that helps you identify whether the skill is a mandatory skill or a non-mandatory skill. Same with interaction as well. We have a reference to the interaction, we have a reference to the skill, and there is a flag to determine if the identified skill is mandatory or optional. So with this being the architecture, let's talk about how do you determine skills? What are the different dimensions that you look at? Now, skills could be determined based on the product on the case. You have this case is related to product A, you need a specific skill. It could be based on work items priority. This is a P1 issue. You may want a more skilled agent to work on this. It could be based on attributes of the case. It could be based on description or keywords in the case. It could be based on customer status. You have a VIP customer, you may want to have a more skilled agent to work on this case. Could be based on authorization requirements. For example, this is a FedRAMP customer, and you want the agent to have specific authorization to be able to work on this case. It could be based on customer location or language preferences. So in short, skill determination can be based on case attributes or the customer attributes. Now, when we break it down and we try to identify ways of determining skills, there are three different ways. There's a simple way of identifying skills, which is a simple condition based. Case.priority is P1, set P1 as mandatory skill. Account.vip is true, set customer ninja as the optional skills. So this is a very simple way of identifying your skill requirements. The next type of identification, skill determination, is lookup based. Now, this is where you can set up a lookup table where you can define the set of attributes and also the required skills based on those attributes, and then have a rule to look up this lookup table and identify the skills. And this is very, very useful for determining skills based on language or product. Um, let's take an example of language. If your organization is supporting 10 different languages, you can go ahead and set up a lookup table where you define these languages and the required skills for serving in those languages. And you can just define one single skill determination rule, which just looks up the attribute on the case, matches it with the lookup table, and then identifies the skill. Whatever you're doing with lookup based approach can be done with simple based approach also. But if you try to replicate all of that using simple based approach, you will end up creating a lot more rules. So in our language example, you could create 10 different simple rules, or you could just go ahead and create one lookup based rule and have a more extensible and scalable solution. And finally, the third way of doing it is for complex use cases where it cannot be done using conditions or lookup based approach, and you want to write script, we allow that as well. So I'm going to demo 3 different skill determination use cases. We'll talk about VIP skill determination, where a customer is a VIP customer, and we will see how a simple skill determination rule helps in determining skills for this use case. Then we will look at product skill determination, which would be a lookup based skill determination use case. And then finally, we will look at a language detection based skill determination rule, which would be an advanced type of a rule. So let's dive into the demo. I'm on the agent workspace. I'm logged in as an agent, and I'm available to take cases and chats. I have another agent here, agent 2, who is also available and who is available to take cases and chats. Now, this is the agent view. Let's switch to the customer view. Customer is here on the customer service portal. This is a very important customer, a high value customer. And let's try to create a case from the customer's interface. So I'm going to go ahead and create a case for this product. And I'm going to say, I have an issue with my Acne booster. And I'll go ahead and create a case. The case has been created. Let's go back to the agent interface. And what we see here is advanced work assignment routed this case to agent 1. It shows certain details about the case, and I'm going to accept this case. Now, when I'm looking at the case, when I look at the skills identified on this case, I see that Premier Support Certified was a skill which was automatically identified and added to this case because this is a important customer, and this customer is certified for Premier Support. Also, this skill was added as a non-mandatory skill. So this is what you saw in action. A customer created a case. We had a simple skill determination rule to look at the case entitlement, and based on that, add Premier Support as an optional skill. We went ahead and added Premier Support as an optional skill on the case. At the time of assignment, advanced work assignment looked at this case, looked at the skills required to complete or work on this case. We had 2 agents available. Out of the 2 agents, one of the agent had the skill. So even though this was a non-mandatory skill, because one of the agents had the skill, advanced work assignment prioritized that agent over the other agent and went ahead and assigned this case to agent 1. How do you set this up? So let's take a look at that. Sorry, my admin console seems to be running into an issue. We'll come back to this in a minute. Um, let's go back to the customer and see another use case. Now I'm going to create another case. This would be for my router, and I'm going to say my router is broken. Now, this is a specialized product. This is for a router, and the agent who's going to work on this would require special skills to be able to solve this case. So let's see what happens here. So I'm going to submit this case. I'm going to go back to agent, and we see that the case was routed to this agent. And when I accept this case and look at the skills that were identified on this case, we see that like before, Premier Support Certified was identified as a non-mandatory skill, but in addition, because this case was related to this model of the router, we identified router as a mandatory skill and added it to the case. And because John had all the required skills, AWA went ahead and assigned this case to John. So this is what you saw playing out. The customer again created a case. In this scenario, the product on the case was case 5000. We had a separate lookup table where we had products and the required skills mapped out. We looked at the product on the case. Based on that, we looked up the lookup table. And for this product, router was the required skills. And when we went ahead and added that skill to the case, at the time of assignment, advanced work assignment looked at the skills identified on the case and based on that, went ahead and assigned the case to agent 1. So this is how we had set it up. This is the lookup based skill determination rule. This is for the case table. The lookup table is skill required for model maintenance. We looked at the product on the case. Based on that, looked up the model column on the lookup table and identify the skill. And based on what was identified, we said this is going to be a mandatory skill. And that is how the skill was identified and added to the case. In our previous example, where we looked at the simple way of identifying skills, we again looked at the case, we looked at the entitlement on the case, and if entitlement was Premier Support, we said Premier Support Certified is going to be the case, is going to be the skill required for working on this case. And we added it as a non-mandatory skill. Now, let's go back to the customer. I'm going to create one more case now. I'm again going to create it for the same router. Now, this time there's a change in the scenario. George has moved to Germany, and George, along with his team members, they normally communicate in German and they also create cases in German. So George is going to create this case in German. Instead of saying my router is broken, George is going to say this. And submit the case. Now let's go back to the agent. This case was routed to the agent. Agent accepts the case. And when we look at the skills identified for this case, we see that like before, Premier Support Certified and router were identified as skills for working on this case. But in addition, we also looked at the subject line of this case and we identified that this is German and we added German as a required skill on this case. So this is what you saw in action here. A case was created again for KX5000 router by this customer. We looked at the description of the case. We ran it against a language determination service, identified that this language was German, and based on that, we added German as a required skill on this case. And when advanced work assignment was assigning the work out, it looked at the skills required, and based on the skill requirements, identified the right agent and made the assignment. Now think about the manager's experience when a capability like this did not exist. The manager would have had to look at all the attributes of the case, manually added those skill requirements on the case, and then made the assignment. Now all of that could be automated with skill determination and skill-based routing. Now coming back to the admin setup, this is how you would set up an advanced skill determination rule. You could select advanced, it's again on the case. You could look at the short description of the case and then have your script to do the needful. So if you're starting to build a skill determination from a rule from scratch, these are steps that you would take. You would create a new rule. You would give a name to the rule. I'm going to say test rule, and you would select a table. Let's take case for an example. This table could be anything as long as it is an extension of task or interaction. Like I mentioned before, extension of tasks are cases, incidents, problems, etc. Interaction could be chat, walk-up, etc. Now, once you select the source table, you would select what type of skill determination rule is it. Is it simple? Um, if it is simple, you can add your skill requirements in this section. If it is lookup, you can provide the details of the lookup table. Or if it's advanced, you would have a script block where you can script your way to identify your skill requirements. So really powerful capability to identify skills and add them to the work item before assigning the work item out. That takes me to the next section, which is, so before I dive into this section, Jeff, were there any questions on the chat?
We've had a couple that have come up. So Peter had asked, can skill-based routing also be used to route external and internal requests to the appropriate ServiceNow applications like HR, IT, external customer service? I did respond to that one, and I think you'll talk about this here coming up next. So it does a good job of teeing that up. The other one we had is around how is the agent determination algorithm working? Is it considering also availability of agents? For example, when agent 1 with special skills is not available, then does the case still get routed to another level agent, which is currently available? And Parag did address this one in the Q&A.
Great. Thanks. All right. So the next section that I want to cover is advanced work assignment, and specifically around the ability to define custom service channels. In Madrid, when we introduced advanced work assignment capabilities were limited to 4 out-of-the-box service channels, which were case, incident, chat, and walk-up. Now with New York, you can define your own custom service channels as long as these channels are extension of task or interaction. Just to refresh our memory, this is how we set up AWA. First, you would define what to route. This is where you would define your service channel. Then you would define where to route. This is where you define your queue, define the routing conditions for the queue, sorting order on the work items within the queue, etc. And then finally, you would define your assignment strategy. You could choose one of the 2 algorithms available out of the box for assigning work. And if skill requirements need to be enforced, you can enforce those as well. And finally, you would also set the inbox card layout. This is what determines what shows up on the inbox and define the user's presence. So I'm going to use the same framework to define a custom service channel here. So let's go back to the admin UI, and I'm going to define a service channel for work orders. I'm going to say inbox orders 300. This is a work order service channel, and it is records in the table work order. This is active. In the default capacity, I'm going to say default capacity is 3. Utilization condition determines under what condition is this piece of work taking up agent's capacity. So I'm going to say any work order which has state, draft, or awaiting approval would take up agent's capacity. And I'm going to save this. Agent capacity override is where you can override and add additional capacity or add specific capacity to specific agents. I'm not doing that for this demo. An inbox layout is automatically created for the service channel. A default layout is automatically created. And if you look at the default layout, the field that would show up on the card layout would be the work order number. I'm not making any changes here. And we haven't defined any queue, so I don't see anything under the queue here yet. So step 1 is what we just completed. Now let's go to step 2. I'm going to define a queue for these work orders. This is for service channel work order. I'm not putting any condition here. Any work order that's created in the system would get routed into this queue. And I will save this. So step 2 is what we just completed. And let's go to step 3. So when the work items are getting into this queue, how do you go ahead and assign them out? This is where we define our assignment eligibility. I've already created an assignment rule, and I'm going to refer to that here. I'm going to say work order, assign using work order assignment rule as soon as work is available in this queue. And then I want to assign it to a group called California Dispatches. And I'll hit submit. So this is what we've done here. We've created a queue for work orders, and we have set up assignment for work orders through this queue. If you want to look at the assignment rule, it's a simple assignment rule that just assigns out based on most capacity and allows agent to reject. There's no skill-based routing here to just keep it simple. So we've covered.
Prithvi, can you go back 1 second to the
queue?
The queue. Yep,
Sure.
Go back to the queue, because I think that this will also go back to the question that came up in terms of like if a work item comes in where skills are required and no agents are available, you have this overflow concept, right? Well, we can expand, we can relax the criteria, right? So after, let's say, 2 minutes, if an agent with the skills was not available, you could actually have a subsequent group that would expand that population and relax those rules, right?
Absolutely. So the assignment is at the eligibility level. So here what we're saying is at 0 seconds, California dispatchers are eligible to get work from this queue. And the assignment would happen using this rule. I can go ahead and add additional eligibility also. So let's say in first 5 minutes, I want to assign it based on skill requirements. But then if customers have been waiting for more than 5 minutes and I just want to go ahead and assign it out to any agent available, I can do that. I can go ahead and add additional eligibility record here and say these agents or these group of agents are available after 5 minutes. And when I make the assignment out, I can choose an assignment rule where I'm not enforcing skill requirements. So in first 5 minutes, I will enforce skill requirements. And then later on, I will relax the skill requirements. In our previous example, when we were doing skill-based routing, in the very first example, we added a optional skill. So in case of optional skill, we look for agents who have the skills. But if we don't find an agent, we will go ahead and assign it to whoever is available. If it's mandatory, the work item will be in the queue till we find the available agent or till we relax the skill requirements. Okay, so we've covered step 1, step 2, and step 3. We will go to step 4 now, which is adding this new channel to the present state. Let me go ahead and save this. We have the available present state, which currently caters to case and chat. I'm going to add work order also to the state. Now, let's go back to the agent and make sure that they have the state. They have this channel. This is John Jason. I'll go ahead and refresh this agent's screen. And the available state, I see work order also. Same thing applies to the second agent also. I see work order as another channel under the available state. Just to keep things simple with routing, I'm going to make this agent go offline. And I'll go back to the admin screen. So far we've done all the setup. Now we will go ahead and create a new work order. This work order is for account Boxio. It's for contact George Warren. I'm going to call this as test work order and save this. Let's go to the agent view. And what we see is this work order was routed to the agent. The agent clicks accept and then can work on this work order. So with 4 simple steps, you can create your own custom service channel as long as those channels are extension of tasks or interactions, and then use that to route work to your agents. With that, I will go to my next section, which is chat quick actions. Chat quick actions, just like the name suggests, are keyboard shortcuts for enabling your agents to do or take specific actions from chat. Now, these actions could be on ServiceNow or it could be on the external system. It's a very powerful set of capabilities that can be invoked by / commands. The most common use case for chat quick actions is templated responses. Templated responses are pre-canned messages that your agents can use to communicate with your customers when they're handling multiple chats. You don't want your agents to type every single message by hand. If there are common snippets or responses that you want your agents to be armed with, you can do that using response templates and quick actions. So let's see them in action now. I'm going to go back to my customer view and I will initiate a chat. Let's go back to the agent. This chat was routed to the agent. It's come from George Warren from Boxio. Agent has a few seconds to accept this chat. I'm going to accept this chat. And while responding back, I can use my quick actions to respond back. I can see the list of quick actions available to me by clicking on this lightning icon, or I can bring them up by just pressing star. There are a bunch of actions available to the agent here. Let's talk about response templates first. So I can bring up response templates by typing /r or clicking on the response template. And that brings up a secondary menu with the list of all the response templates that are available to me. I can click on a response template to bring up the text for the response template. Or if I know the keyboard shortcut, the keyboard shortcut for this response template is WC, I can go ahead and type WC and hit enter to bring up that text and share that message with the customer. All the response templates are also search enabled. So which means I can go ahead and type the word thank, and the system would look at all the response templates which have the word thank in them and show it to me. Now, what you may also notice here is it is contextual and it's also personalized. We know that this customer is George, and the response template is already taking care of that. And we're able to address the customer by the customer's first name. So response templates is just one of the use cases for quick action. You can also use this for transferring chat to other agents or other queue. So for that, let me make the other agent available. My agent 2 is going online now. I'll come back to agent 1. I can transfer this chat to another agent by typing /TA, and then it would also show me the list of all the agents available. Currently, NetStack is available, and I see that agent here in the menu. I can also use this capability to transfer chat to a different queue. So I can press TQ, and I would see the list of all the queues available and the agents who are available on those queue. This is also search enabled. So I can say TQ order, and it searches among all the queues and looks up the order queue. You can also see these buttons here on the chat console, and they are pre-wired with the same action. So if I press this button, it would put in TQ and kick off the same framework, or I can press this button to transfer it to an agent, and it would kick off the same set of actions. Now, quick action need not be just for response templates or transferring chat to a different agent or a queue. You can also use that for kicking off workflows or doing certain actions on ServiceNow. Let's say you want to go ahead and create a case. So you can do that as well. So I'm going to say /case, and the secondary menu shows me the priority that I would like to assign this case. I'm going to say this is a high priority, and I'm going to say test case from chat. And when I hit enter, a case is created with the information that I provided. I can go ahead and click on this and look at the case. So very powerful set of capabilities here. Now, quick action can be, the ability to kick off certain processes or actions on ServiceNow is powerful, but that is not just it. You can also use quick actions to trigger actions on third-party systems or external systems as well. So here's an example. I'm going to say weather, and I'm going to start typing something. Now, as I start typing something, I see that the secondary menu is getting populated dynamically based on what I type. So I'm going to say San Jose. And what I see here is based on what I'm typing, we are calling Google APIs to look at the cities which match what I'm typing here. So once I go ahead and select a city here, and hit enter, we are calling weather.com APIs to look at the weather here and communicate that out. So this might not be a real world use case for your businesses, but just illustrates the power of this platform and what it can do to kick off workflows on external systems. You can use the same set of capabilities to say create a lead in your sales system, or say kick off an RMA or a refund process in an ERP system. So pretty powerful set of capabilities that can help make your agent's life easier while they're communicating with the customers. With that,
Prithvi, what real quick here? We did have a question come up, and I thought it might be good to hear you kind of talk this one through live on the webinar. Do you see any best practices around agent auto routes? Basically, what you were doing at AWA. And anything that we need to consider where the focus should not be on sacrificing the overall performance or response times, right? So kind of going back to that overflow capacity, like have you seen any or observed any recommendations in terms of how to build out those overflow rules.
Sure. So let me see if I have set that up in my instance. So here is an example. This is a customer service chat queue. Any chat coming into customer service would flow into this queue. And as soon as the chat is routed into the queue, um, I have my customer primary group, which is the customer service support group, uh, earmarked as the group which would serve these chats. Now, within first 30 seconds, I want to make sure that I route the chat to the right agent based on the skill requirements on the chat. So whenever the chat is routed, I'm making sure that skill requirements are handled correct, are enforced. Now, if the customer has been waiting for more than 30 seconds, I don't want this customer to keep waiting. I want to provide best customer support. I want to go ahead and identify agent, or go ahead and assign the chat out to the agent immediately, so the customer is not left waiting. So I have a backup group of agents here. So when 30 seconds have passed, I have brought in a backup group of agents to help these customers out and serve these chats. This could be an important capability for your VIP customers. You could have a VIP chat queue where you have your VIP agents serving these customers, but you don't want your VIP customers to wait for too long. So you could have your backup group of agents, which could be your regular agents, come in at say 30 seconds and make sure that your VIP customers are getting the best service.
But to go back to your language example, like German, like for example, you may not want to go just into a general sort of support population, relax all skills rules. You could have a different group that maybe has an agent in there that has German, right? So you could have like at 0 seconds, and then at 20 seconds, look for somebody that has German from another team. And then if not, then just relax it all together, right? So sort of coming up with that hierarchy of like preference in terms of what skills need to be applied and how important those are to the resolution of that issue. I think language would be a big one, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just to be clear, you can go to any level here, you can keep adding additional groups. And what you're doing here is improving the probability of getting an agent quickly. Now, here at 0 seconds, customer service support group is eligible. At 30 seconds, customer service support backup group is eligible. But it's not just this group. This group is eligible too. So at 30 seconds, you are expanding the pool of agents who are available to serve this chat. So you can go on expanding your pool of agents, and you're improving your probability to get an agent quickly. Now, within that pool of agents, you can still find this agent. You can still go ahead and assign it to an agent from your primary group if that agent becomes available during that time. Okay, with that, I'll hand it over to Virag to walk us through email related enhancements. Over to you, Virag.
Thank you, Prithvi. Hello, everyone. I am Virag Shah, and I work with Jeff and Prithvi on agent experiences and omnichannel pillar. And today I'm going to talk you through the email enhancements that we have done in New York release. So while you saw all the great features on advanced work assignment and chat, we should not forget that a lot of our customers are still on traditional channels like email, phone, and portals. So email is a very integrated part of omnichannel experiences, and we at ServiceNow have invested quite a bit in email capabilities even in New York release. So one of the capabilities that I'll talk about is inbound email flows. So for those who already know about the email processing capabilities inside of ServiceNow instance, till Madrid, you can write very, very powerful email processing rules through something called as inbound email actions. So however, by inbound email actions, you could kind of do all kind of email to case processing rules. You can create email to case, you can read the email, you can create an incident or a task, and that platform is configurable. However, it requires mandatory writing of mandatory writing of scripts. So it is not very easy for business users to create and maintain these email processing workflows. In New York, we have introduced a no code or a low code approach of email processing through Visual Flow Designer. So for those of you who are familiar with Flow Designer, we have extended the Flow Designer by introducing a new trigger called inbound email flows, which is a trigger which is very tightly coupled with the event of an email being received inside of ServiceNow instance. So we'll see how this will enhance the experience for a business manager or a process owner or a business analyst persona in the organization. So a persona like Beth Anglin, she can now quickly um, create a flow diagram of how the new business requirement looks like. And that flow chart can be translated into inbound email flow, email processing logic using Visual Flow Designer. Now that is going to be indeed possible without that business manager to having to write scripts or take help from admin or developers. So in essence, reiterating, the goal is to kind of ensure that business managers are self-sufficient. And these are the differences that are being highlighted between inbound email actions and inbound email flows, where you don't have to write scripts now. Moreover, we have opened it up in such a manner that business manager personas have the right access on inbound email flows. Moreover, in inbound email actions, for every kind of a use case, you had to write a different inbound email action. But now in an email flow using a conditional logic, you can create one email processing flow which takes care of all your email processing rules. And Visual Flow Designer also offers troubleshooting and logging capabilities through its kind of a visual interface. We'll also talk about enhancements to email experience on Agent Workspace. So in essence, what we have done is we have enhanced our email templating capability, which will now help you help the business managers and agents quickly draft emails that look professional by adding logos and fonts and rich text. Um, so these capabilities were already available in Madrid, but these capabilities were generic enough, and we kind of enhanced it to be applied to specific tables, enhance the experience for configuring it using variable substitution. And one of the main drawbacks that we had in Madrid on quick messages was quick message when applied in an email client while responding to uh, customer requests from case forms would completely overwrite anything which has been typed so far. So we have changed that behavior in New York to append at the cursor. So that would mean that multiple quick messages can be applied in the same email drafting experience, and we'll see that through a demonstration. And one of the most significant enhancement that we have made in email templates is signatures. So it will be possible now for the business managers to configure signatures in email templates. This was a long pending ask, and we responded to our customers by bringing this capability in New York. With this, I'll quickly jump on to demonstration and show you all these capabilities in action. So in the demonstration, you will see customer George Warren sending an email. You'll also see business manager or a process owner, business analyst, kind of a persona, Beth Anglin, do all the config on inbound email actions and quick messages. And we will see how the agent John Jason can make use of these capabilities at runtime. So let me quickly start off with the familiar mail client Gmail. So here, this is the mailbox of George Warren, the customer, and he would go ahead and quickly type a message to Acme support. So George Warren types a message saying that router needs to be replaced urgently. and sends this email. Now, well, we all know that ServiceNow instance is capable enough of handling such emails. Now, let us see what email processing rules manager has configured here. So in this instance, um, this is a new inbound email flow which has been configured for handling these incoming emails. So this is the new inbound email trigger. So in the flow designer, you have to just go ahead and create a new flow and mark the trigger as inbound email. And you can mention any configurable conditions here. So if the email that has been received has a to address as the address of the Acme support, and if it's like receive type is new and type is received, then this flow will go ahead and create a case for matched or unmatched users. So it will try to find out whether the sender of the email is an existing contact or existing consumer, and accordingly create a case. And it will also map the subject of the email to short description and body text to description. Now let us see what is happening here. So in this case, George Warren is existing contact. So what will happen is this flow has been kind of, like I said, multiple use cases for consumer record exists, then create a case, or contact record exists, then create a case, or if no record exists, then create a case, can all be clubbed together in a single uh, flow, as opposed to having different inbound email actions that we used to have till Madrid. So here, if contact exists, then you can go ahead and create a case and also populate the account field to the account field in the case, also populate the contact field in the case. And then here you can set the channel as email, assignment group as Acme support, and so on. So this is what will happen. And if tomorrow the business process changes and there is also a requirement for Beth to also mark all such cases as priority is high, this is a very, very simple change that can be done through a visual interface now. So let me not save this. Let me just keep this as this, and let us see what has happened on the agent side of things. So here, this is the agent workspace of John Jason. Um, and let me just refresh it a bit. So agent workspace shows the landing page here. And you can see that there is one team case which has not been assigned to anyone yet. And this is exactly the case which has been created from the email which was sent by George Warren. John would go ahead and quickly open that case. And he'll be able to see the case here in the activity stream. And there is an automated email notification which has been sent out to John saying that the case has been created with a link to the portal. But here, the model number is missing. So John could quickly reply, number of the router. Okay, before he does that, he assigns that to himself. And request info. So there is business logic written here that when the agent marks this case as request info, the case goes to awaiting info state. And an email notification is sent out to the customer, George. Now, basically, let us see what has happened. So this will go and customer will be able to see that in the inbox. So clearly what has happened is when the case got created, this email notification came here. There is integration with portal out of the box as well, where the case can be viewed on the portal and responded from here if George wants to, or George, the customer, can go here and quickly respond to this query of the agent by sending a message here to email. So this is like really the power of choice that we are providing to the customers to use either the email channel or the portal channel, or from the portal, the customer can even initiate a chat So this is bringing the omni-channel picture together. Now let us see what happens when a mail is sent back from the customer to ServiceNow instance. So here there is another inbound email flow which we have configured for update case via reply. So this will work on emails which are of receive type as reply and replies on a case record, right? So here also what we are doing is only registered consumers and contacts can influence the state of the email. So if the email is sent by contacts or consumers which are already which have the subject as accept or reject, that those kind of emails can update the case and mark the case to close status or open it. So for example, if the case is resolved and customer accepts that resolution through email, we update the case to close state. So now this is very self-explanatory because the visual designer allows you to kind of create this flow in this manner. And if the current state of the case is resolved and the email comes with a subject as reject, the case is reopened. And in this case, what has happened is the current state of the email is awaiting info, and the email response came back from the customer. So the state should go to open state, right? So we'll quickly.
Virag, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt here, but just to kind of reiterate, the old world versus this new world. Like in the old world of inbound actions, I would have to go in, I would have to understand script, something that a developer wrote to see how the email is being handled. This gives me a really visual path to go in and understand, troubleshoot, tweak, or evolve over time, right? Like that huge impact on time to value for any changes we need to make to how emails handled, right?
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for pointing that out, Jeff. I was like too engrossed in showing the capability that I forgot to mention that. But yeah, so all these were capabilities which are already existing and were possible through inbound email actions by writing scripts. But now this particular workflow, we have just delivered it using inbound email flows where you can see the visual flow designer in action. So, so because the response was sent back from the customer and then everything is shown on the timeline now, we can actually see the case being moved to the open state. Clearly, now the agent is going to work on this, and agent is also expected to respond to the email that the customer has sent. So to this email, if John Jason wants to respond, he can now from here inline click on this reply from agent workspace and respond to this email, right? Before we do that, let us see the quick message capabilities that we have introduced in New York release. So here, Beth is the manager and she can actually configure quick messages to be used by agents in her team. This capability is now opened up for customer service managers to create their responses the way they want their agents to work. And because in New York, we added the association of table out of the box with these messages, what it means is there could be multiple different templates applicable to different type of entities. So for example, this particular quick message praise email is associated with incident entity. This is associated with change request. This one is associated with case. Sample disclaimer is not associated with any table. So that means it applies to all entities and so on. Moreover, you can also have filtered templates for specific users. So you can open up this capability for email templates to be drafted by agents themselves, because they can draft and keep their emails ready and use it at runtime, or it can be filtered according to group as well. So here we'll see the authoring experience for the business manager real quick. So this is one of the quick message which has been configured in such a manner that this applies to the case table only when the state of the case is not resolved, close, or cancel. Means it applies only to new, open, and awaiting info. And here you can see we have included the logo, there is rich text editing and so on. Moreover, because now this has been associated with a case table, the manager can quickly go ahead and edit this using a variable substitution here. So here the content says this regarding case number, open that. Let's go and select the created time. Moreover, the manager can quickly edit it here, apply rich text formatting like color, and quickly update it. There is another quick message, which is sample disclaimer, which is a plain vanilla disclaimer that the agents are supposed to use when they externally communicate. Now, this one is not associated with any table, no condition. So this is expected to show up with any entity. Now let us quickly go and see how the agent can use this in action. So here, the email client template has been applied. Moreover, the older response is also kind of there in this email here, because this is a continuation of the email thread. And quickly the agent will go ahead and apply still investigating template and the sample disclaimer template. So here we are showing like multiple quick messages can be applied to the same email message while drafting the experience. Moreover, what you see here is the signature of the agent. So John Jason's name is here, his title is here, and also a personalized signature appears here. Now, before we go and see how that appeared, let's just respond to this customer. So here you see the variable has been substituted by the customer name. The case number is appearing here, and the agent signature is also appearing here. And the disclaimer is also appended at the cursor, and the older reply is also available in this email thread. Let us hit on send and quickly go and look at the signature capability. So here in this particular template of still investigating, the manager has configured something called as current user. So here we have made a mention of $current_user, which is a special variable that we have added, which refers to the logged in users record in the system. So through this, the email templates like quick messages and email client templates can now have a reference of the current user and their title and the signature. So here, this one u_signature is a special attribute that has been added as a customization and configuration on the profile user profile attribute. So here you can type in any kind of a rich text. This can be opened up by for use by any agents. So they can configure their own signatures. And this you saw in action when John Jason used this email template, and the signature got appended to that particular email before the email was sent out. Through this kind of an interface, what we really saw is the email that now comes to the customer has the whole history and the reply thread. And it also has the agent name, signature, and the templated response, which we drafted from the agent workspace, and the customer is able to get that particular email. So with this, we are at the end of the demonstration for inbound email flows and quick messages, along with the signatures. And I'll hand it over to Jeff. Thank you. So do you guys have any questions?
I'm not seeing any questions yet. So let me just double check. Again, the community links have been provided. So if you have any questions in the future, if you don't have them yet today, we can please post them on that community link. It's free to join, but you do have to sign in to be able to post and engage with the experts and other users on the community. We'll be having more Ask the Expert events starting up in January, so stay tuned for those. I'm just going to wait to see if we've got anyone else typing away. But if not, we do thank you all for joining us again today.
I did see a chat come through here, Lisa, from George. Is there a quick action interface available for interacting with and responding to inbound emails? So the quick answer to that is not today. The quick message selector is separate from the UI that we're working with here within chat. There's consideration for that on the roadmap, and if you have any suggestions or ideas like that, our ideas forum out on our community is a great place for those, and so our omnichannel team will be able to see those and respond accordingly. But that's a great suggestion. And just to follow up on what Lisa said, this recording will be available. I will follow this up with a blog post out on our community page as well. Would love to hear more questions, more ideas, more feedback on Omnichannel. So look forward to hearing from you all down the road.
Thanks so much.